Hey everyone, welcome. You're watching an SNF video where today we're reviewing Noire.
Sunny, it is actually pronounced LA Noire.
Really?
Yes, it is pronounced LA Noire.
I actually have a lot to say about Noire, so let's get straight to the rating. The name of the character you play is Cole Phelps, and he can be seen in the intro of the game as a patrol officer heading off to work. There are 5 career folders in order of patrol, traffic, homicide, vice, and arson, each giving you a new and different persona of a partner. At the beginning of the game, you're a patrol officer, and it's considered to be the tutorial of the game, where they teach you the fundamentals of hand-to-hand combat, suspect chasing, over-the-shoulder shooting, the car chases, interrogation, clue gathering, and witness questioning. When the captain sees that your interrogation skills are pretty good, he promotes you to traffic, which works on vehicular crime, then to homicide, which has nothing to do with the actual story of the game, but decided since we're using the 40s and 50s, they let you use the dolly cases. And boy, did they use the dolly cases. So the story of the game doesn't really pick up until the vice promotion. In early careers, you were given spurts of glimpses and flashbacks of what the plot of the game is in between promotions and newspaper articles. You know immediately your partner is a complete D-bag, but it's okay because every game needs one. He appears to follow the crooked and corrupt cop set of rules and turns against you when you have an affair with a German songstress. Keeping in mind that this is only years after World War II, so people still jumpy at anything German related. So the backstabber gets you demoted to arson, which is cruel saying that arson career is any less important than any other cop career, but it's the only department that will accept Phelps after his scandal. All the cases here pertain to a psychotic pyromaniac patient who was receiving treatment by this really shady pill distributor, Dr. Fontaine, who were in most of the newspaper cutscenes, and he is such a chameleon. He pops onto a political scandal which in the end also mistakenly knocks down. With Phelps having less and less credibility with the scandal, he asks help from a PI named Jack Kelso. He and Phelps were in the war together and didn't really see eye to eye. After a long time playing Phelps, you get to play Kelso, and it is really difficult to not appreciate this character as well. He's the polar opposite of Phelps, but they have one thing in common: they want justice, so Kelso is good in my book. Kelso gets integrated in the story in a hasty manner and gets caught up in political scandal. He eventually figures out that the pyromaniac was behind most of the arson cases. I did my best to not to give away any spoilers, so on that note, they were able to solve all the arson cases and the political scandal. The story of the game doesn't really start until the vice and arson careers, so since they pretty much jam-packed you with all that information at the end, we gave story a 9. For gameplay, I mentioned this earlier, this game features many things like the hand-to-hand combat, the suspect chasing, the over-the-shoulder shooting, the car scenes, the interrogation, witness questioning, and clue gathering. Hand-to-hand combat is really simple and it's so much fun to do. You barely do combat in game, but when you do, the camera angles are awesome. In hand-to-hand combat, you dodge, you hook, you body, and eventually you either grapple him and knock him on the floor, or you uppercut him to knock him out. The suspect chasing is actually pretty cool. You have strangers rooting on telling you to catch the guy. With that, there are different outcomes, all fairly minor, like arresting them or shooting them. There's also suspect tailing, which is essentially the same thing except that the suspect doesn't know that you're following them, and you just have to be very sneaky about it. The over-the-shoulder shooting is good and fairly simple. It's really generous, but I don't think I remember seeing a ammo gauge. So that's the only issue I have about that, since that would have been nice. There are 2 activities with the car scenes. There's chasing and there's tailing. The car chasing in this game is very awkward because the camera turns very poorly, causing driving to be somewhat unbearable, but you get through it because you want to progress through the story. There's a helpful skip action implemented just in case that it gets too difficult for you. For car tailing, since it's the same aspect as suspect tailing, except that you're driving a car, you just have to be really careful not to get too close to them, otherwise they'll see you. Interrogation brings such an intriguing feature to this game. Ideally, a person in question has several facial expressions, and it is for you to decide whether or not if he's telling the truth, is in doubt, or is lying. It gets easier and easier as you do more and more questioning. You can always knock out one either truth or lie. Doubt is always a possibility. The unfortunate thing about this is that the tutorial game doesn't give you a good amount of opportunity to practice before getting used to it, so it gets really frustrating sometimes. A few pro tips: truth tellers usually look straight at you. Doubters and liars will roll their eyes or have a weird tick. You can almost imagine as if it was poker. It also gets more difficult as there are good liars out there. One of the unfortunate things as well is that if you miss a clue that's potential proof for a lie and you don't have it, this will affect your game by making it more difficult, but it will not prevent you from solving the case completely. So take a few seconds and examine the faces and laugh at their faces, because I don't know how Phelps couldn't laugh at some of them. Clue gathering was an expected thing in the mystery game. You run around the area pressing buttons hoping for a clue to appear. This doesn't mean that this is tedious, it just means it was expected. Noire has a nice feature where you have a distinctive music will chime in, making you realize that Blue's Clues is on. And if you step out of the boundary of irrelevancy, it will turn off. When you're done finding the evidence at the crime scene or the area of interest, the music will turn off. Simple and sweet, right? For gameplay, we give it a 9. For graphics, this is the most beautiful motion capture game I have ever played, and because of the genre, I think it might be the best for me. The part of the game that utilizes this perfection are the cutscenes, interrogation, and interviews. Each case will always have them, and it never feels like it's game repetitive. For the interview and interrogation, you have to pay attention to the person's interest, facial expressions, so some of them are hilarious, some leave you to the death stare. Regardless of whichever you get, you start to appreciate the awesomeness of this game. The motion capture actually grabs the exact details of the actors and actresses they used. You easily point out the Mad Men cast if you notice that the protagonist, Cole Phelps, is played by Eric Stanton from Mad Men. Then there are others who you know their faces but can't really place where you found them. This is always a treat for me. I am actually really pretty good at faces. There has to be at least one other person out there who feels this way. No? Rockstar Games is known to make this elaborate world, and of course they do such a great job at Hollywood. The details in this game is done so well, like the little things like the liquor on the shelf, or the evidence found on the crime scene, to the bigger things like the cars and establishment, like the police station. So we give graphics a 10. For control, for the PC version, it feels fine, but I wouldn't recommend it for witness questioning and interrogation, as you may accidentally press the wrong button. I switched immediately when that exact situation happened to me the second time. The controls feel more comfortable on the controller, so I suggest using that. The only nitpick I have about the control of the game is the car driving. For Rockstar Games to create such control mechanics for driving a vehicle to be annoying is surprising. It feels awkward when you drive as the auto camera moves while you steer, which makes turning that much difficult. This affects the car chase scenes. I am sure I have a few embarrassing moments during my gameplay where my driving is complete shit. Anyways, you understand how I feel. So we give Control a 9. For length, for a game that was on retail sale for $60, you can complete the game in a fair amount of time, but definitely not what it's worth. The story is great, but you were slammed with so much information during your vice and arson career, it makes you realize that the traffic and homicide was just fluff. If you want this game at a worthy price tag, I would suggest purchasing this game at $40. If you supported the game since the beginning, you are an awesome person because it does deserve the full price, but judging from the length of the game, it's not worth $60. Instead, it's worth $40. So we give length an 8. So we give it an overall score of 9 out of 10. We recommend this game if you like mystery games and action games, but keep in mind that this is a mystery game first, so be patient with that part for you action game lovers and hopefully enjoy that aspect of the game. We suggest to avoid this game if you don't like tricky games. The mystery part of the game, clue gathering, suspect questioning, interrogation, crime scenes are very intimidating as it will affect your game depending on how well you do on them. So if you don't like to be frustrated, I would suggest to stay away from it. That's it for the review. If you would kindly click on the like button, I appreciate the support. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button above for more gameplays and reviews. If you didn't catch up on the last review video, you can click on the link on the right. I hope you guys and girls have an awesome week. Thanks for watching.